Imagine being just a regular nerdy student, worried about nothing bigger than handling bullies, and then, boom, you start running into ghosts and aliens. Your whole life flips upside down. Our story starts with Momo losing her cool when her boyfriend asks her to lend him money for a date. Things get even worse when he suggests they hit up a hotel, so she tries to kick him, but he knocks her down and they end up breaking up. Heartbroken, she vents to her friends who can't help but question why she was even into him in the first place. Momo admits it just because he looked like her favorite actor, Kenta Kakura. Explanation her friends find totally ridiculous. Feeling down, Momo's walking through the halls when she spots a guy getting bullied in a classroom. Deciding to step in, she sits at his desk and gives the bullies a sharp glare until they back off. She leaves right after. But the guy catches up with her, excitedly chatting about aliens and UFOs. His non-stop talk only worsens her mood, even though she didn't plan to befriend him. She ends up apologizing when she realizes she hurt his feelings and casually mentions she believes in ghosts more than aliens. The boy smirks in disbelief at the existence of ghosts, which it gets Momo defensive. She explains her grandma's a spirit medium, sparking a fairy debate between them about which is real. UFOs or ghosts. It all ends with them daring each other to prove their beliefs. Late at night, Momo and the guy she now calls Okarun split up to prove their points. Momo heads to Naji Hospital, where Okarun thinks UFOs might show up, while he checks out a tunnel Momo believes could be haunted. They stay on the phone, and during their chat, Momo opens up about her past. She shares how she used to resent her grandmother after being bullied by a crush because her grandma made her perform a ritual in public. But over time, Momo forgave her, realizing she hated how her crush mocked her grandmother more than the bullying itself. She even came to respect her grandma's role as a spirit medium. Meanwhile, Okarun encounters an elderly spirit known as Turbo Granny, who offers to have him suck on her breasts in exchange for performing shameful things. Freaked out, he bolts, refusing to believe what just happened. Momo, hearing his panic screams, warns him that Turbo Granny curses people if she catches them in a race. As Okarun gets chased on his bike, Momo rushes to help, but is suddenly paralyzed with fear when she spots three eerie figures in the hospital hallway. Terrified, she tries to escape, but they capture and restrain her. Momo wakes up to find herself tied to a chair in her underwear, surrounded by strange figures who introduce themselves as the Serpo's aliens, wanting to copy human reproductive abilities. One of them pulls out some weird mechanical device from their lower half, planning to take her womb through a disturbing process. Momo struggles to break free, but they use psychokinesis to mess with her mind, making her feel aroused against her will. Just as things are about to escalate, Momo's phone rings, distracting the Serpos. Suddenly, Turbo Granny bursts in and bites off the device. Momo quickly realizes Turbo Granny is actually Okarun. Serpos try to stop him, but Turbo Granny Okarun moves too fast, ripping off their mechanical devices one by one. When the aliens pin him down with psychokinesis, Okarun pleads with them, offering himself instead. He reveals how meeting aliens has always been his dream because he felt so alone until he met Momo and begs them to leave her alone. But the Serpos ignore him and crank up their control over Momo, making things even worse. As this continues, Momo recalls her grandmother's instructions to perform the ritual in order to release her a key and manages to accomplish the task, resulting in her unlocking psychic abilities that help her break free from her restraints. With the ritual serving as confirmation, Momo acknowledges her grandmother's true abilities as a spirit medium and counters the Serpo with a powerful kick that sends the alien crashing back, causing damage to the UFO. Momo then suppresses Turbo Granny's possession over Okarun after she attacks him. Before vanishing, Turbo Granny warns Momo that she has taken Okarun's genitalia. And the only way to lift the curse is to confront her in the tunnel where she resides. After surviving the UFO's destruction, Momo and Okarun start to believe that both aliens and ghosts are real. Okarun then gets ready to head out and face Turbo Granny, insisting on going alone so he doesn't cause any more trouble for Momo, but she keeps offering to help. Eventually, he agrees and apologizes for being a bit awkward, explaining it's just how he is. When he says something that sounds just like Kintakakura, Momo gets a little shocked, but quickly brushes it off, trying to ignore any weird thoughts. She then realizes she never even asked his name, so she asks him. When he tells her his name is Kintakakura, Momo is left completely speechless. Unwilling to accept that his name is the same as her favorite idol, Ken Takakura, Momo tells him he can't use that name around her. Instead, she decides to call him Okarun, a nickname he reluctantly goes along with. Since it's morning and ghosts don't usually show up during the day, Momo invites Okarun to her place to wait until night to deal with Turbo Granny. When they arrive, Okarun suddenly bursts into flames trying to walk through the torii gate at her house. Panicking, Momo uses her psychic powers to fling him into the nearby river. She quickly realizes it was the talisman on the gate, meant to ward off evil spirits, causing the problem. After removing it, Okarun can finally enter safely. His hair now looks like an old lady's perm from the fire incident, much to Momo's amusement. Once both are inside and changed, Okarun becomes upset to find his missing genitals. Momo reminds him it's his own fault for getting involved back at school. Okarun admits he only approached her because he didn't want to miss the chance to make a friend, and he's scared she'll never want to be friends with him. Momo reassures him that his real problem is isolating himself without meaning to and promises they can talk about paranormal stuff together. Touched by her words, Okarun gets teary-eyed but ruins the moment by responding in a snarky way, leaving Momo annoyed. The two suddenly hear the doorbell ring. Momo doesn't recognize the chime and figures it must be an evil spirit since her house has separate chimes for humans and spirits. Realizing the spirit got him because she removed the talisman from the Torii gate, she and Okarun sneak out the back door to put it back. Momo and Okarun run for their lives, dodging the giant shockwave stumps. Okarun recognizes the creature as the Flatwoods monster because of how it looks, while Momo thinks it might be connected to the Serpos, given its motive for attacking them. Momo tries to fight back but struggles to manage both the monster and keeping Okarun's curse under control with her powers. Okarun suggests a risky plan. If Momo focuses on suppressing Turbo Granny's curse in just his head, he might be able to use the rest of his possessed body to fight. As the Flatwoods monster's next shockwave closes in, Momo goes for it and the plan works. Okarun transforms using Turbo Granny's insane speed to dodge the attack and counter by biting off the monster's fingers. But the intense speed takes a toll on Okarun's human body and he ends up coughing up blood. Just as the Flatwoods monster is about to stomp him, Momo jumps in and pulls him out of harm's way. As they struggle to figure out how to beat the Flatwoods monster, Momo notices it's fighting like a sumo wrestler. She gets an idea: if they can force it to touch the ground, like in sumo, they might win. To pull this off, Momo uses her psychic powers to suppress Okarun's curse with her right hand, letting him smash the monster's right leg. At the same time, she uses her left hand to yank its body down, which causes its right hand to disintegrate. Though they manage to hurt it, the Flatwoods monster quickly regrows extra legs to stay balanced and slams Momo into the wall by the Torii gate. Even as she tries to keep Okarun's curse under control, the alien keeps pummeling her. Okarun begs her to stop worrying about him and protect herself, but Momo refuses to give up, getting increasingly annoyed that the monster is cheating. After the beating finally stops, Momo reveals her real plan. She let the Flatwoods monster attack her so it would create a crack in the wall. The gap is just big enough for her to slip the talisman back into place. Pulling Okarun close, she sets the talisman back where it belongs, instantly incinerating the Flatwoods monster and transporting them back to the real world. Momo feels a huge wave of relief now that the fight is finally over. She notices Okarun's hair has changed again. This time it's wild and messy, which she finds likable. But the battle has completely drained her, and she collapses right in front of Okarun. Without Momo using her powers to keep Turbo Granny's curse in check, Okarun ends up falling under its influence again. Before Turbo Granny could consume Momo, her hot curvy grandmother shows up just in time to stop the evil spirit by throwing a brick with a nail and setting Turbo Granny on fire. The hot grandma then challenges Turbo Granny to a duel. Turbo Granny tries to attack her from behind, but she bursts into flames once again upon getting near the grandmother. The curvy grandmother explained that she has drawn a barrier with her bat to keep evil spirits away around herself, and that she has also created one around the evil spirit as well to trap her. Having been confined to one space, Turbo Granny gets getting smacked with the bat and set on fire every time she tries to cross the barrier. When Turbo Granny warns that killing her will also kill Okarun, Grandma doesn't even flinch, saying it doesn't matter because hurting Momo is unforgivable. After Turbo Granny notices that a second drawn barrier is in place, Grandma calmly places a nail inside the circle, says her final goodbye to the spirit, and wipes out the first circle with her foot, setting off the evil spirit warding flames. Later, Momo awakens in her bed and walks down to the living room to find her grandmother engrossed in television. Concerned that Okarun might be in danger without her to suppress his curse, Momo inquires if her grandmother has seen him. She's shocked when her grandma casually mentions she already dealt with the evil spirit. Momo presses her for details, concerned about Okarun, but her grandma reminds her of the time she called her a fake spirit medium. Feeling guilty, Momo gets down on her knees and apologizes. Her grandma then tells her to check the main shrine outside. Momo hurries to the shrine. Upon opening the doors to find him safe and sound and happy to see her alive, her relief turns into irritation, leading her to close the doors on him, which left Okarun perplexed by her abrupt change of mood. Momo's grandmother steps out and reassures her that Okarun's curse is under control inside the shrine. She admits she lied about Okarun's demise just to mess with her and even teases Momo about having feelings for him, which Momo denies. When Momo brings up her new psychic abilities and Okarun's situation, her grandma warns her not to mess with Turbo Granny. She reveals that Turbo Granny has merged with an earthbound spirit in the tunnel, becoming way more powerful, even beyond her ability to handle. Despite her grandma's warnings to stay away from Okarun, Momo insists on helping him, saying it's what Ken Takakura would do. Her grandmother, amused, briefly considers teasing Momo by comparing her favorite actor to Okarun, but decides to let her take on Turbo Granny. She lays out a plan. Momo and Okarun need to train and then challenge Turbo Granny to a game of tag. The goal is to lure her out of Shono City, which will weaken her powers. Later, while they're alone, Okarun apologizes to Momo for feeling useless against the Flatwoods monster and promises to get stronger. Momo reassures him, saying he was brave during the fight and that she's ready to save him if needed. She goes to grab him a futon and some barley tea when he asks for water. Meanwhile, in the living room, Momo's grandmother watches a news report revealing that Shoma, the celebrity she did clairvoyance for, has had his secrets exposed just as she predicted. Momo, passing by, casually remarks that it's pointless news before heading off. During their training, Momo notices notices Okarun squirming, clearly needing to use the bathroom, but she refuses to let him go alone since she has to stay close to suppress his curse. Frustrated, she explains to her grandmother how her psychokinesis works by locking onto the aura she can see. She also admits her powers felt way stronger when they first appeared. Her grandmother suggests she try a different approach, closing her eyes and using her sense of touch to control Okarun's curse instead of relying on sight. Momo gives it a shot, but things go sideways when Turbo Granny's curse starts taking over Okarun. Unable to hold it any longer, Okarun bolts for the bathroom, leaving Momo and her grandmother scrambling to chase after him. While keeping the bathroom door open to suppress the curse, much to Okarun's embarrassment, Momo listens as her grandmother explains that she hasn't yet unlocked her full psychic potential and needs more training to regain her strength. Suddenly, Momo notices her grandmother's nose bleeding and is horrified to see Turbo Granny appear in the bathroom. Speaking through Okarun, Turbo Granny warns them that her curse can kill anyone Okarun has looked at. She issues a direct challenge to Momo: confront her in the tunnel tonight or she'll start killing people at random, refusing to give Momo time to train for their fight. After Turbo Granny leaves, Momo is relieved to finally talk to her grandmother and Okarun again. Seeing her grandmother's bleeding nose, ears, and the burned talisman on the wall, her grandmother asks Momo to explain what just happened. Before heading to the tunnel, Momo's grandmother gives her and Okarun special outfits made to protect them from evil spirits. She hugs Momo tightly, asking her to come back safe, and later prays for the god to keep them both safe. On the train ride, Momo is fuming, determined to get back at Turbo Granny for hurting her grandmother. Meanwhile, Okarun is sitting there with his face buried in his hands, clearly embarrassed about wearing such weird outfits in public. Momo and Okarun cautiously step into Turbo Granny's tunnel, planning their strategy to face the evil spirit. Momo feels confident that this battle will be easier than their previous encounter with the Flatwoods monster. However, they're surprised to find a massive head of Turbo Granny blocking both the entrance and exit of the tunnel. Using her psychic powers, Momo tries to attack with bats, but Turbo Granny effortlessly destroys them with her mouth eyes. Desperate, Momo urges Okarun to tap into Turbo Granny's power. However, Turbo Granny responds by returning Okarun's genitals, rendering him powerless. As she prepares to consume them from both sides, Momo remembers her grandmother's advice to challenge Turbo Granny to a game of tag, using her confidence in her speed against her. After issuing the challenge, Turbo Granny, feeling underestimated, stops her attack and accepts to quickly try to escape as Turbo Granny starts counting down from 10 minutes, giving them a head start. However, Momo is captured before they can make it out of the tunnel as Turbo Granny starts counting in an unusual way up to 10. Okarun becomes angered by this and protests, accusing Turbo Granny of cheating. The Turbo Granny explains that the challenge didn't specify how she had to count, so technically, she's not breaking the rules. As panic sets in, Turbo Granny completes her countdown of Okarun's 10 minutes. With no clear plan to save Momo, Okarun decides to bite Turbo Granny's breast in desperation. In a chaotic struggle, Turbo Granny struggles to remove him due to his unusual clothing and eventually fully possesses him. She prepares to devour Momo, but remembering her grandmother's advice on using her sense of touch, Momo constricts Turbo Granny's aura until she is contained within Okarun. Turbo Granny tries to break free, but Momo keeps her trapped until she finally dissipates, celebrating their victory. Momo and Okarun are soon alarmed as the earthbound spirit reveals itself, rushing to save Turbo Granny. They quickly flee the tunnel. Momo and Okarun are on the run from the earthbound spirit crab. Empowered by Turbo Granny's speed in his cursed form, Okarun carries Momo on his back, trying to outrun the spirit through the town, which only they can see. As Okarun reaches his limit, Momo comes up with a plan and instructs him to lure the earthbound spirit crab into a hot spring. Knowing that crab's muscles will tense up when exposed to boiling water, Momo uses her psychic power to pull down a pipe filled with hot water towards the earthbound spirit crab, slowing it down and giving them a brief chance to escape Shono City. However, they soon find themselves cornered by possessed citizens, summoned by Turbo Granny and the earthbound spirit crab. These spirits, brought from a nearby cemetery, close in on Momo and Okarun. Turbo Granny declares that neither she nor the earthbound spirit will allow them to leave Shono City no matter what. Trapped with no way out from the horde of possessed humans, Okarun uses Turbo Granny's power to quickly carry Momo through the masses. The speed of their escape takes a toll on both of them, and in the process, Momo inadvertently releases Turbo Granny within Okarun. The Turbo Granny gives them a powerful kick, sends them flying, leaving Okarun unconscious. Turbo Granny then merges with the earthbound spirit crab, preparing for a game of chaos with Momo, offering her a few minutes to start running. Momo snaps back, saying she only needs 1 second to escape. Using her psychokinesis, she latches onto the roof of a passing train. Turbo Granny chases after the train, catching up once its speed slows while making a turn. However, she quickly realizes she's been led into a trap by Momo, who reveals her grandmother had set a trap on the railway leading to Kamikaze City. Unable to escape due to Momo using her psychokinesis to hold her in place, Turbo Granny-infused earthbound spirit crab gets exorcised once they reach the trap. During the exorcism, Momo watches as various schoolgirls emerge from the earthbound spirit crab. After Turbo Granny is defeated, Momo, Okarun, and her grandmother return to the tunnel to pay respects to the spirits. Momo's grandmother reveals the tunnel's dark history as the site of a murder involving young girls, explaining that Turbo Granny came to comfort the spirits who couldn't move on to the afterlife. Before leaving, she teaches Momo the importance of coexistence between the living and the dead, expressing her relief that Momo remains safe. Back at the house, Okarun joins Momo and her grandmother for dinner. The two women start teasing each other over the crab they're eating, prompting Okarun to keep his distance when Momo's grandmother insists on checking if his genitals have truly returned. After dinner, Momo and Okarun say their goodbyes as he prepares to ride home on his bike. As Okarun approaches the Torii gate, he reflects on whether good the right word, a sentiment Momo shares. She changes her parting words, assuring him that they'll meet again tomorrow, which brings him a sense of comfort.
The next day at school, Okarun wonders how he should greet Momo when he sees her. To his surprise, he spots her waiting outside by the entrance, assumes she's there for someone else. But then Momo walks straight up to him and asks why he took so long to show up. After chatting about aliens, Momo and Okarun head to their classes. Okarun, feeling happy about making a new friend, overlooks the harassment he faces by his classmates. Meanwhile, Momo is so lost in her thoughts that she barely notices her friends trying to talk to her, leading them to assume she's back with her ex-boyfriend. Both of them can't wait for their next conversation, and as soon as lunch break starts, they set out to find each other. Momo and Okarun unknowingly pass by each other during their search, completely missing the fact that the person they're looking for is just on the opposite side, sitting on a bench outside. Both start to assume the other might be avoiding them because of something they did wrong. As they give up and walk away, they accidentally bump into each other, literally with their teeth clashing in the process. They quickly reassure each other that they were both searching and weren't avoiding each other at all. However, their awkward collision catches the attention of Momo's friends, sparking an argument when the two deny being in a relationship. The misunderstanding escalates, straining their new friendship. Feeling down, Okarun retreats to the broom, thinking about how to apologize. But as he looks down, he's stunned to realize that, while his genitals have returned, his testicles are still missing. In class, Momo, annoyed, becomes the focus after her peers discover a recent encounter with Okarun. The situation deteriorates when Okarun seeks her out, making a strange hand gesture below his waist. Momo, not in the mood for conversation, requests Okarun to leave. Misinterpreting this, Okarun assumes Momo is ashamed to be seen with him and leaves, dejected. One of Momo's friends then expresses shock at her uncharacteristic reaction if Okarun was truly her friend. At the end of the school day, Okarun accidentally bumps into a girl named Era and is surprised when she talks to him in a friendly way. Earlier, notices Okarun with Era and overhears Era bragging to her friends about tricking Okarun with fake kindness. Annoyed by Era's behavior, Momo uses her psychic powers to drop a basin on Era's head, leaving her friends confused about what just happened.
Afterward, Momo catches up with Okarun, playfully suggests they walk home together, and throws a snarky comment at Era. While walking, Momo apologizes to Okarun for how she acted earlier, and he quickly forgives her. However, he immediately shifts the conversation to his latest problem, realizing his balls are still missing. Momo is in stitches over Okarun's predicament, but Siko chews Okarun out for not letting her check to see if he was back to normal yesterday. After a cursory examination of his soul, Siko orders Momo to get a doll and a washbowl full of water after she finds out that something is inside of Okarun. Having fetched the washbowl and a Maneki Nico, Siko then gives Okarun a Harazan bash on the head and prompts her to say something concerning Kinpachi, and then asks Momo if anything strange happened at that time. Momo tells her the aura around Okarun just changed color, then instructs her to try sucking it in if its color changes once more. To their surprise, a Maneki Nico doll abruptly springs to life and dashing out of the room. Momo traces its aura with her psychic power and binds it. The doll is angered and demands to be released on the spot.
Siko explains to Momo and Okarun that this doll is actually Turbo Granny, who proceeds to explain to the three that she avoided the exorcism by moving into Okarun's body at the last second. Turbo Granny threatens that she will have her revenge once her powers return, to which Momo chides the Yokai for failing to catch on that she is not in any condition to take them on at the moment. Well aware of this fact now, Okarun turns to face Turbo Granny and demands that she return his belongings while threatening her with a talisman. Turbo Granny threatens Okarun not to take her life because in case that happens, he will never recover his balls. Okarun and Momo both seem to have realized that. Then Okarun orders him to kill Momo and Siko in return for his balls. In a fit of rage, Okarun transforms into his Turbo Granny form. Siko then shockingly reveals to Turbo Granny that, although her consciousness had been kicked out of Okarun's body, her power still lay within him since she never wanted to be free. Siko then begins desperately striking Turbo Granny with her Harazan. She hates him and he hates her. Upon learning that Turbo Granny was kind to girls who died in the tunnel, Momo says she cannot hate her and offers her a deal. She will return her powers if she helps them find Okarun's balls. Turbo Granny agrees, but is sorry to tell him that she lost his balls. Momo and Okarun set out to find the latter's missing balls that Turbo Granny claims are enveloped in a golden layer of her spiritual energy. Having not found them, Turbo Granny speculates that they have been captured by a spirit or yokai. Lured by their strong life force, she then expresses indifference to their location, which greatly irritates Momo and Okarun as they stomp on her in frustration. Upon reporting back, she offers assistance by gathering intel and cautions Okarun to control Turbo Granny's power within him. The following day at school, Okarun is met by a male classmate requesting him to introduce him to Momo since he is well acquainted with her. Upon hearing him remark on Momo's cuteness, Okarun comes to realize this factor about her but tries to suppress these thoughts, seeing her only as a friend. He then learns from the classmate that a nasty rumor about Momo has been spread around school, prompting him to grab the classmate's shirt, demanding to know the culprit behind this. As a result of letting his anger, Okarun inadvertently triggers Turbo Granny the class power. Upon realizing what is happening, Okarun calms down, offers an apology, and proceeds to sit at his seat. Turbo Granny then shows herself to Okarun, revealing that she has been hiding in his bag the whole time, and reacts with glee after seeing him unleash her power in public. Not wanting anyone to see her, Okarun dashes out of the classroom to speak to her alone out in the hallway and hears her attempt to coax him into restoring her power, which he resists. Turbo Granny then returns hiding inside Okarun's bag after Momo appears. Okarun prepares to tell Momo about Turbo Granny. However, he becomes unable to meet her gaze once he begins to perceive her as based off what his classmate told him. Consequently, Momo chases after him as he increasingly distances himself, causing her both irritation and confusion. This then gives Turbo Granny the opportunity to roam around the school. Later, Momo goes back to class wondering why Okarun is trying to avoid her and learns from one of her friends that Okarun stood up for her when another student brought up the nasty rumor about her. Despite being informed about this, Momo fails to understand why he is still trying to avoid her. Striding through the hallways, Era flaunts her beauty to the admiring glances of her classmates. While doing so, she ponders her view of Momo as a demon, an opinion shaped by seeing Momo's psychic powers at the time when she dropped a wash tub on her head, and feels a twinge of disappointment that the malicious rumor she had spread about Momo seems to have been ineffective. While clutching one of Okarun's kintama, which she discovered the previous day, she holds on to the belief that it is a sign of her destiny to save the world. Last night, Era discovers one of Okarun's kintama after it falls on her head and sees a stream of light along the railway, leading to her claiming the golden ball and her assumed role as a savior. In the present, Era's friends delivers the items she had requested for her world-saving mission, a Bible and a cross. After one of Era's friends expresses how strange Era has been acting, Era alerts them about a mysterious red-clad woman outside the school. Era deduces that the entity must be Momo's familiar sent to observe them. As she attempts to hide from the woman, Era is deemed suspicious by two boys and tries to cover up her behavior with her false personality. At the same time, she signals her friends to meet after school. Atop the school roof, Momo demands for Okarun to look at her. As an excuse, Okarun tells her that he is monitoring Turbo Granny while she eats lunch in case she leaves his sight, to which the talking cat doll becomes confident that he can't stop her. Momo then questions why Turbo Granny is here with them at school and ends up instigating a fight with her after claiming that she has a right to order her after winning in their previous battle. Turbo Granny informs them that she has been searching around the school for the kintama, thinking that there is a possibility that a human had found it instead of a yokai, which could potentially lead to them gaining the ability to perceive spirits and becoming a target for them. Turbo Granny also mentions a strange woman but chooses to divulge more about this piece of info after school. Era contemplates whether she can manage a confrontation with both Momo and her familiar. Later, in the corridors, Momo is approached by Era, whom she remembers as the girl she dropped the wash tub on the day before. Momo consents to discuss matters in a different location, wishing to avoid complications, and informs Okarun that they will reconvene later. After she leaves, Okarun is alerted by Turbo Granny in his backpack about the mysterious woman she had previously seen. Following Era into a deserted building, she is suddenly ambushed by her two friends who handcuff and restrain her. Era then tries to perform an exorcism on her using the cross and the Bible. Frustrated, Momo employs her psychic abilities to push Era's friends off her. Era, witnessing Momo's demon wings again, takes out the kintama to assist in her exorcism. When Momo realizes Era possesses one of Okarun's kintama, she attempts to clarify its significance but fails to persuade her. Spotting Okarun rushing in with concern, Momo alerts him that Era holds one of his kintama and identifies her as the mysterious woman. Okarun clarifies that Era is actually the target of the mysterious woman, who then appears to seize Era away from Momo. After seizing Era, the enigmatic woman proclaims herself to be her mother. Okarun attempts to rescue Era by using Turbo Granny's power. However, the woman prevents this as she evades his rush attacks with her acrobatic movements. Seeing Okarun facing the threat of being devoured by the woman, Momo tries using her physic power to pull him out her mouth. The woman then repels Momo with a kick and ingests Okarun whole. The woman reveals to Era that she has been waiting over 10 years for a reunion since their last encounter when Era was young and recognized her as her mother. Regaining her footing, Momo demands for the woman to return Okarun and is compelled to remind her of the rules governing interactions between yokai and humans. Meanwhile, she becomes confused by Era's outburst about joining forces to defeat the demon. It is then that Turbo Granny informs her, based off the information she searched from Muko's phone that she stole, that their enemy is named Acrobatic Silky, a yokai in a red dress famed for her agility. Upon being offended by Era calling her out as a monster, acrobatic Silky swallows the girl and unjustly holds Momo accountable for Era's actions. In peril, Momo seeks assistance from Turbo Granny, only to learn that the doll is powerless due to her power stolen. Acrobatic Silky then seizes Momo by the neck with her hair, violently swinging around the room until she demands she call her mother to apologize. Momo defies Acrobatic Silky's demand and is also ingested. Acrobatic Silky then cries, wondering where her baby is. Turbo Granny confronts Acrobatic Silky, warning her to release the children or face repercussions, explaining that her being a Maniki Nico doll meant that she can grant good fortune on others. True to Turbo Granny's foresight, Momo ignites Acrobatic Silky's hair, which she had ingested along with her, using Era's lighter rosary, compelling the yokai to expel the children out. With both of them out, Momo and Okarun gear up for a retaliatory strike on Acrobatic Silky.
Momo and Okarun run for their lives from Acrobatic Silky as they try to keep an unconscious Era away from her. Even though the building is packed, Momo tells Okarun, who's in his Turbo Granny form, to keep carrying Era, basically baiting Acrobatic Silky into chasing them. It's all part of Momo's plan. After Acrobatic Silky overpowers Momo, she goes after Okarun and almost manages to snatch Era away. But then, plot twist, her messed up hair gets tangled in the building's beams, just like Momo planned. While Acrobatic Silky's struggling to free herself, Momo uses her psychic powers to grab her legs and yells at Okarun to attack. The problem is Okarun's not exactly ready with a move, but he eventually uses his Turbo Granny speed to charge at her and take her down. After their win, Momo and Okarun get the Kintama back from Era, but then Turbo Granny drops the bombshell. Era's dead. Okarun checks her pulse and confirms it. She'd been consumed by Acrobatic Silky earlier. Turbo Granny says it's too late, but Momo and Okarun aren't giving up. They start frantically trying to save her heart, massage, CPR, the works, while Turbo Granny calls an ambulance. Just when they think it's over, Acrobatic Silky gets back up, but instead of attacking, she offers to save Era by giving her own aura to her. Momo's suspicious, so Acrobatic Silky tears out her own mouth as a promise not to hurt Era again. Still wary, Momo tells Okarun to stay on guard while she reluctantly agrees to let Acrobatic Silky try the aura transfer. As it starts, Momo gets a glimpse into Acrobatic Silky's past, turns out. The episode then shifts to a flashback, revealing Silky's heartbreaking past. When she was alive, she was a single mother working multiple jobs, cleaning, cashiering, and even prostitution to provide for her young daughter. Her daughter's birthday arrives, and Silky gifts her a beautiful red dress. But their happiness is short-lived. Debt collectors, likely Yakuza, break into their home and beat Silky mercilessly and kidnap her daughter. Bloodied and broken, Silky chases after them but collapses in the rain, her cries echoing in the empty streets. In her final moments, Silky performs a melancholy ballad dance on a rooftop before jumping to her death. Back when she was alive, Acrobatic Silky, then just a regular mom, had forgotten her memories and ran into Era, who mistook her for her own mom. When Era's father reminds her that her mom's gone and she needs to stay strong, Acrobatic Silky starts believing she was Era's mom in a past life and feels this need to protect her, which is how she became a yokai in the first place. Seeing all this, Momo starts crying, and which makes Okarun think something's wrong, and he gets ready to fight Acrobatic Silky. But Momo stops him, revealing that Era's miraculously come back to life. As the revival works, Acrobatic Silky apologizes to Era and begins to disintegrate. Turbo Granny explains that without her aura, and full of regrets and Acrobatic's doom be forgotten, Silky's doom instead of moving on. Heartbreakingly, Acrobatic Silky thinks about her own child and how she failed as a mom. Wanting her to find peace, her Era hugs her, calls her mother, and says she loves her, which finally lets Acrobatic Silky achieve nirvana. Era then wishes for her and her child to find a better place in the afterlife. After the whole Acrobatic Silky drama wraps up, Era ends up having dinner with Momo, Okarun, Siko, and Turbo Granny at the Momo's house. Momo realizes Era is still mad at her for dropping a basin on her during their first meeting, so she apologizes but also demands Era apologize to Okarun for making fun of him back then. Era's like, "I'm not mad about the basin thing, I just think you're a demon and my enemy who I need to beat." Cue a heated argument where Momo insists she's not a demon. Era then points at Okarun turning into Turbo Granny and Siko looking weirdly young and beautiful as proof they're all demons. The two girls keep going at it, with Era warning Momo she'll come for her again and Momo firing back, "Bring it on." Before leaving, Era asks Okarun why he saved her if he's a demon. He's like, because helping people is normal, which throws Era off since she assumes he's still got some humanity left. She tells him she'll liberate him from Momo's influence, blushes, and leaves, leaving Momo totally shocked. Okarun's super happy because Turbo Granny and Siko play a game of baseball and finally return his Kintama to its rightful place. The next day at school, Momo suggests they meet on the rooftop to talk about where his other ball might be, but Okarun says he's busy with a report. Momo agrees to let him be, but starts getting suspicious when she hangs out with Miko and Muko at lunch. Miko jokes that maybe Okarun's hiding something about a girl, and even though Momo denies it, she can't stop thinking about Era after yesterday. While grabbing drinks, Momo starts feeling uneasy and wonders if she should check on Okarun. But then, plot twist, she walks into the courtyard and sees Okarun on top of Era. Turns out, Okarun was training outside school like Siko told him to preparing for their next paranormal fight. Out of nowhere, Era shows up and tries to confess her feelings by kissing out. Okarun freaks out, backs away and asks why she thought that was a good idea. Era says she's following advice from her dad's books. Yeah, weird, as she tries to make another move. Okarun accidentally falls on top of her, and that's when Momo walks in and sees them. Momo's not happy, storms off, and refuses to listen when Okarun tries to explain. Later, during a class lesson about mantis shrimp, Momo's still fuming and Miko and Muko think she's possessed by the shrimp spirit. Meanwhile, Okarun's just hoping he can fix things with Momo later. Then things get really weird. Okarun finds the school floor flooded and his classroom empty. He runs into Era, who thinks Momo created this whole mess, but Okarun says he's been stuck in it too. Meanwhile, Momo's trying to figure out how to escape and starts worrying about Okarun until she hears a noise and sees a snake-like creature creeping around. She hides, but the creature notices her and blasts the classroom with some kind of energy attack. Momo dodges it and starts wondering where Okarun is. At the same time, Okarun and Era hear the noise and realize they're in trouble. Okarun remembers their fight with the Flatwoods monster and tells Era they need to defeat the alien to escape. Suddenly, a crab-headed alien shows up and attacks. Okarun transforms into Turbo Gran and saves Era and tells her to run while he fights the alien, but the alien's too strong. It uses psychokinesis to overpower Okarun and force him back to his normal form. The alien that, called the Serpos, says they're here to take his Kintama to steal his supernatural power. Okarun tries to explain that the power they saw was a curse, but he can't transform again. Just as the Serpos pull out giant scissors to extract his banana organ, Era suddenly transforms into something resembling acrobatic Silky, uses her hair to attack the Serpos and saves Okarun. She declares she's the chosen one and demands they let him go. Era checks on Okarun to see if he's okay, but gets super flustered when she realizes he's, naked. Misunderstanding the situation, she assumes he's trying to take their relationship to the next level. Meanwhile, a Serpo alien figures out that Era has powers like Okarun, which let her move through dimensional space. Wasting no time, he orders the crab-headed alien to fight her up close while he attacks from a distance using his psychic powers. Era dodges every move the crab-headed alien throws at her, and even kicks him so hard that his head gets stuck in the ceiling. Just as she's about to take on the Serpo, he uses his psychic powers to pin her against the wall. Excited to find another human with powers he can harvest, things take a turn when the crab-headed alien breaks free and punches Era, sending her flying through a classroom. Okarun jumps in to protect Era, but is quickly overpowered by the Serpo's awesome zone, which blocks yokai abilities. The crab-headed alien doesn't hold back, beating down on Okarun until Momo shows up just in time. Using her psychokinesis to counter the Serpo, she evens the playing field. The aliens are shocked and terrified to see her again, but Momo's more annoyed than anything, especially at Okarun for getting involved with Era. With her sharp tongue, she gives them all a piece of her mind, before gearing up for the next showdown. With Momo on the scene, the Serpo expresses frustration that their crab-headed subordinate failed to take her out. Okarun is relieved to see Momo again, but she tells him to keep his eyes to himself since he's still not fully dressed. Meanwhile, despite not being thrilled about being saved by Momo, Era asks her to team up against the Serpo. Momo is stunned when Era transforms into acrobatic Silky, and things get tense when Era declares she's not giving up on Ken. Hearing Okarun's real name for the first time, Momo gets flustered, loses her focus, and accidentally drops her psychokinesis, allowing the Serpo to take control again. The Serpo seizes the moment and injects their crab-headed ally with a serum that turns him into a mantis shrimp-like powerhouse. The enhanced crab alien bombards Okarun Era with shockwave punches while they're pinned by the Serpo's psychokinesis. Regaining her composure, Momo snaps back into action, demanding that Era stop using Okarun's full name around her. She counters the Serpo's awesome zone with her psychic power, forcing them to shift their focus to her. Meanwhile, Okarun and Era power up to take on the crab alien, working together to dodge his punches and exploit his weak spots. Okarun's quick thinking helps Era land solid hits, but Momo warns them not to fight too close together, as it makes them an easier target. Era misinterprets Momo's advice as jealousy, which Momo denies, though Okarun agrees with Momo's point. However, his comment accidentally reminds her of Ken Takura, breaking her concentration again. During the Kiaos, the crab alien learns that his poor performance will result in a pay cut, adding insult to his injury. Suddenly, the fight is interrupted when water begins flooding the area as the space fills with water. Momo, Okarun, and Era manage to surface only to realize that the walls and ceiling have turned into water as well. Looking up, Momo is horrified to see a familiar, massive creature swimming just above them. Realizing the creature above is Nessie, Momo and Okarun immediately swim away as it attacks his Serpo. Below them, the enhanced crab alien sends an underwater shockwave punch at Era, slamming her into the watery ceiling and nearly drowning her. Despite boasting that his punches are stronger underwater, the crab alien soon admits he doesn't have gills, leaving him gasping for air and on the verge of drowning. Seizing the opportunity, Okarun transforms into Turbo Granny form, planning to use his powerful legs to strike back. However, he quickly discovers Turbo Granny's powers don't work well underwater, as he starts sinking. Reverting to his normal form, Okarun and Momo continue dodging the crab alien's attacks. Okarun tells Momo he'll distract the alien so she can help Era. Momo finds the plan frustrating, and their argument shifts to what happened between Okarun and Era at school. Sensing that the incident bothered Momo more than she's letting on, Okarun gently suggests she be honest about her feelings and promises to explain things later. He assures her she's the one person he doesn't want to misunderstand him. With that, Okarun dives to shield Momo from another shockwave punch. Inspired, Momo comes up with a plan to use her psychic powers on Okarun, transforming him into a human speedboat to move faster in the water. Riding on his back, she steers him toward Era, then uses her powers to clear the water from Era's lungs, letting her breathe again. Realizing their soaked clothes are slowing them down in the water, Momo, strips down to her underwear for better movement and convinces a hesitant Era to do the same. Below, the enhanced crab alien spots a Serpo swimming nearby and asks for more time to chase Momo and the others. To his shock, he realizes it's just a severed head. Nessie had already taken care of it. Another Serpo approaches the crab alien, planning to use its body cables to merge with both him and Nessie. Meanwhile, as Momo, Okarun, and Era prepare to dive back down to face their enemies, they notice the Serpo Dover demon Nessie below them. The trio immediately retreats as it starts shooting powerful water blasts from its mouth. Once the attacks stop, they see the creature recharging by absorbing water through its gills. Seizing the moment, Era, in her acrobatic silky form, launches herself at the creature with a flying kick. But Nessie blocks the attack with a punch and counters with a series of shockwave punches, showing off the crab alien's mantis shrimp arms that enhance its close combat skills. After Momo and Okarun pull Era back to safety, the three struggle to figure out a strategy inspired by Okarun's observation about the mantis shrimp arms. Momo comes up with a plan. Before they can act, they're scattered by another powerful punch. Seeing Momo as the biggest threat, the Serpo Dover demon Nessie prepares a deadly attack. But as it strikes, Momo uses her powers to bring the water pressure down, causing the mantis shrimp arms to rip apart. She explains that the arms can't handle such force outside of water. Furious, the creature dives deep to recharge and aims another massive water blast at her. Just as the attack is about to hit, Era uses her acrobatic silky hair to grab the creature by the neck. This gives Okarun the chance to charge along her hair like a track and slice the fused monster in half, catching Momo in his arms as they finish the fight. With Nessie defeated, Momo and Okarun manage to escape the void space. At first, they're relieved to be back on solid ground, but their relief quickly turns into panic when they realize they're standing in the school hallway, wearing nothing but their underwear in a weird pose. Momo, Okarun, and Era make a frantic dash to get out of sight. After that weird situation, Momo, Okarun, and Era get questioned by Queen, who serves as the school nurse. She asks them if showing up in their underwear was some sort of bullying stunt. Before they can explain, a staff member interrupts to tell the nurse about an incoming phone call, leaving the trio alone. Still mortified over their public embarrassment, Momo starts talking with Era, who admits she accidentally activated her acrobatic silky powers during the fight with the Serpos. She thinks it happened because of her connection to the Okai's aura. Okarun jumps in, theorizing that this connection might make her a target for aliens. He suggests that extraterrestrials might be after humans with yokai powers like him and Era, possibly to use them for technological advancements. He even ties this back to his missing Kintama, but Momo and Era just look confused, clearly not keeping up with his train of thought. More concerned about their embarrassing situation, Momo hears Era say she's going to pin the whole underwear incident on her. Not wanting to drag things out, Momo goes along with it. Era's friends show up shortly after and she leaves with them, leaving Momo and Okarun to deal with the awkward aftermath. With just the two of them now, Momo demands an explanation from Okarun about what really happened with Era during lunch. Okarun admits that he accidentally fell on Era while trying to push her away when she attempted to kiss him. Momo then presses him on why they were even in a private spot in the first place. Embarrassed, Okarun explains he was secretly working out to get stronger because he wanted to impress her. Momo finds his reasoning hilarious and teases him, asking why he cares so much about looking cool in her eyes. Flustered, Okarun tries to leave, assuring her he wouldn't blame her for anything like Era did. As he's walking off, Momo tries to respond, but just as she's about to say something, her friends Miko and Muko show up. They've already heard about the incident and are eager for details. Momo avoids explaining, which leads Miko to assume Momo and Era fought over Okarun while in their underwear. Momo immediately shuts that idea down. Meanwhile, back in Class 2D, Era is soaking up sympathy from her classmates, pretending to be innocent victim, but her smugness fades when she overhears them bad-mouthing Momo, calling her a bully and using the rumors to paint her as a terrible person. Feeling guilty, Era finally confesses to everyone that she lied about Momo and begs them to stop spreading hate. Her unexpected confession leaves the whole class stunned as she storms out of the room. While sulking over her confession outside the school, Era is approached by Momo, who questions whether Era has followed through with a plan to attribute the incident to her. Era admits to doing so, yet Momo detects her falsehood, having observed Era's isolation, which frustrates Era. The two then face the Dover demon, who speaks of his need to support his family. Momo and Era prepare to defend themselves but soon see the Dover demon fall to the ground, exhausted from bleeding a white fluid from his body. Following a dream about his son, the Dover demon awakens to find himself in the Ayas household, where he is being observed by Momo, Okarun, Siko, and Era. Momo informs her grandmother that the presence of the Dover demon serves as evidence of extraterrestrial life, only to be met with her grandmother's skepticism, who mistakenly identifies the creature as a kappa. After providing care for him, Era inquiries about their next steps, expressing concern that he might attempt to deceive them once more. The Dover demon then puts the group on guard after he moves from his bed, prompting Momo to advise him not to get any bright ideas since Siko is there to offer support. The Dover demon then looks down to notices a plate of curry and is told by Momo that they prepared the dish for him. Despite their uncertainty regarding his dietary preferences, overwhelmed by their kindness and the medical attention he received, the Dover demon succumbs to tears and vows that he will never pose a threat to them again. Following a dinner with Momo, Okarun, Siko, Era, and Turbo Granny, the Dover demon shares his predicament regarding the need to secure funds for his ailing son's blood transfusion, which has led him to engage in perilous activities as an outlaw. In a gesture of support, Okarun offers to sell his organ to assist the Dover demon. Momo interjects, explaining that this solution would not adequately address the ongoing financial demands of his son's daily transfusions. Nevertheless, Okarun insists on his desire to help. Era expresses her backing by assuring Okarun that she will retrieve the Kintama once it is sold, only for Momo to advise her to refrain from getting involved. Despite Okarun's generous offer, the Dover demon declines, stating he does not wish to burden Okarun or his companions further and prepares to depart. However, Siko halts him to recognize the scent of his blood and subsequently offers him a cart of milk to drink. The Dover demon acknowledges that milk is equivalent to the blood of his kind, prompting Siko to propose asking a farmer for a cow for the Dover demon to take home to his son. As he boards his ship with the cow being brought up, the Dover demon expresses his gratitude to the group for their assistance, acknowledging his indebtedness to them. Shortly thereafter, Momo gets down on her knees with Okan and Era to implore Siko to purchase new uniforms for them. While Siko agrees to buy uniforms for Okarun and Era at no cost, she informs Momo that she will only procure hers if she performs an impression of Hirashi Ape, having perceived Momo's intentions to take advantage of adults' financial resources. Momo acquiesces to her grandmother's request and is compelled to greet a visitor at the door while doing the impression. Upon opening the door, Momo is taken aback to find Gigi, her childhood friend and first crush, which Okarun learns about in astonishment from Siko.
When Momo sees Gigi again, she's completely caught off guard. Okarun, on the other hand, notices Gigi's tough guy vibe but isn't impressed by his over-the-top reaction to Momo's surprised face. Air is also there, and all three of them are just not feeling Gigi's energy. Siko invites Gigi to make himself at home, and then casually drops the bombshell he's moving in. Momo's stunned, Okarun's confused, and Era jumps to the wild conclusion that Momo's gathering an army for some big battle. She storms out, vowing to stop Momo, who's now stuck dealing with both Gigi and Era's nonsense. Before Okarun leaves, Momo asks him to say goodbye properly and he mirrors her "see you tomorrow," which leaves them both feeling a little awkward and flustered. Later, Momo confronts Siko like, "Why is Gigi living with us?" Siko explains that his parents are in the hospital and she's happy to help him out, especially since he's been showering her with compliments. While washing dishes, Gigi apologizes for being a jerk to Momo when they were kids and casually mentions he can now see spirits. Momo's like, "Wait, have you seen a golden ball?" but quickly backs off when he looks clueless. He then spills that his house is haunted by an evil spirit that drove all the exorcists he hired to. Well, not great ends. Desperate, he turned to Siko as his last hope. Momo reassures him that Siko can handle it, but Siko drops another bombshell. Momo has to deal with the spirit because Siko's powers only work in Kamigo City. Oh, and she throws in the offer of new uniforms if Momo agrees. At school, Gigi introduces himself to his new classmates and immediately starts flirting with a girl. He ends up sitting next to Momo, who's trying really hard to ignore him. Miko and Moko, Momo's friends, get the scoop from Gigi that he's living with her, and he totally exaggerates their relationship, calling it affectionate. Momo's so annoyed, she literally strangles him. Meanwhile, Okarun's freaking out about the possibility of Momo getting close to Gigi, her first love, and decides to distance himself. To distract himself, he sneaks off to train during lunch. But then Momo shows up, trying to keep an eye on him after the whole error incident. She even offers to feed him while he's lifting weights, which leaves him stunned. Just as he's about to accept, Gigi swoops in with Momo's favorite yogurt, making her super happy. Seeing Momo so cheerful with Gigi, Okarun walks away, deciding to keep his distance from now on, but then things get weird. Okarun spots an anatomical model, yeah, like a creepy mannequin, rushing toward him and yells a warning to Momo. She's about to use her powers to stop it, but Gigi pulls her out of the way. The model leaps over them and Momo notices something shiny attached to it. She thinks it might be Okarun's Kintama. She tries to grab it but gets dragged along by the model's speed, with Gigi hanging on for dear life. Okarun transforms into Turbo Granny and chases after them to help. Momo's struggling to keep control of the runaway anatomical model, but it's fast. She tries to use her psychic powers to grab Okarun but accidentally sends herself and Gigi flying toward an oncoming bus. Turbo Granny Okarun swoops in just in time, saving them and letting them ride on his back. Momo explains to Gigi that the creature he's riding is actually Okarun, which blows his mind. Together, they try to pull in the anatomical model, but it disassembles itself to escape, leaving behind its heart. Momo follows the sound of its cries and tracks it down to a junkyard. She tries to reassure it, saying they just want to check out the golden spear attached to it. Suddenly, they hear a female voice calling out for the model, named Taro. Taro rushes to the trash to rescue Hana, a female anatomical doll he's been longing to see. He confesses his feelings for her, despite her attempts to persuade him to leave her behind. Watching this, Okarun can't help but see the parallels between Taro's love for Hana and his own feelings for Momo. He blushes, realizing just how much he cares for her. And yeah, it's a whole mess of emotions, weirdness, and creepy mannequin drama. After bringing Hana to the Aya's house, Okarun, Momo, and Gigi all drop to their knees and beg Siko to let her stay. Siko's first thought is, why not just keep her at Okarun's place? But Okarun insists the Aya's house is the better option. Momo backs him up, reminding Siko that they let Turbo Granny stay, which annoys the talking cat to no end. Being compared to an anatomical doll, Momo explains that Taro, the other doll, went back to their school's science classroom but will only stay if he gets to visit Hana regularly. She also clears up that the shiny ball he had was just a Christmas ornament, not Okarun's Kintama. After some serious begging from the trio, Siko finally agrees to let Hana stay, as long as her relationship with Taro doesn't cause any neighborhood drama. She then heads to the kitchen to make dinner, telling Momo to set the table. While Momo's setting the table, Gigi compliments her and Okarun on their powers. He even picks a piece of lint off Momo, sparking some playful banter that makes her smile. Okarun, watching this, can't help but think about Taro's confession to Hana and feels like he needs to step up. He vaguely tells Momo he's taking a stand, which leaves her confused. Then, out of nowhere, Okarun starts singing and Gigi joins in, much to Momo's annoyance as they're totally messing up her table's setting. Siko yells at them to stop because they're kicking up dust and then drops another bombshell. Momo's staying at Gigi's house for the weekend to cleanse it of the curse. Okarun freaks out, thinking it'll just be Momo and Gigi, but Momo reassures him she's inviting him too to make things less awkward. Hearing this, Okarun vows to get the job done so Gigi can go home. Later that night, Taro bolts out of the school, desperate to see Hana. On his way, he scares off some students trying to do a scenes and then gets hit by a truck. Meanwhile, at the Aya's house, Momo stays up with Hana, promising her Taro will show up. By morning, Taro finally arrives, apologizing for being late and explaining he had to put himself back together after the truck incident. Momo, waking up from a nap, catches Taro kissing Hana and gets thanked for staying by her side. She's shocked when Taro mentions he plans to visit Hana every day. Meanwhile, Gigi's lying awake, haunted by the memory of the spirit in his house. On the train ride to Gigi's village, Momo and Gigi are having a lively chat and Momo's happily munching on her favorite snacks that Gigi brought. Okarun, feeling left out, tries to distract himself by thinking about reclaiming his Kintama, but he accidentally blurts it out loud, which Momo finds hilarious. Gigi thinks it's a dirty joke, but Momo quickly shuts that down. Trying to steer the conversation, Okarun brings up the Tsuchinoko, which gets Momo's attention for a second, but then Gigi mentions there's a shrine dedicated to the Tsuchinoko in his village, stealing the spotlight again. Not to be outdone, Okarun brings up a Kappa shrine, which intrigues Gigi. The two end up having a surprisingly fun conversation about cryptids, and Gigi even calls Okarun a friend, which catches him off guard. And Okarun can't figure out why he doesn't dislike Gigi. When they arrive at the village, Momo's thrilled to see it's a hot springs district. Gigi explains his dad studies volcanoes, which is why they moved there. Momo asks if the volcano's active, but Gigi assures her it's been dormant for 200 years. After climbing a steep set of stairs, they finally reach Gigi's house. Momo doesn't sense anything weird and suggests they rest. Okarun notices something in the woods but brushes it off when Momo tells him to come inside. Little do they know, a group of people is watching them from the shadows. After searching the house for ghosts, Momo concludes the spirit must be hiding because its energy's too weak to detect, which makes her think it'll be an easy job. She decides to hit the hot springs while Okarun stays with Gigi, who invites him to play soccer. As Gigi teaches Okarun how to kick the ball, he casually asks if Okarun likes Momo. Okarun's stunned but says he respects her, which leads to a friendly debate about who likes Momo more. Meanwhile, Momo's relaxing in the hot spring, wondering if Okarun's getting along with Gigi. Unbeknownst to her, some creepy guys are peeking at her. Back at the house, Gigi playfully chokes Okarun to get him to admit defeat, but Okarun stops him and informs Gigi that he notices a mysterious structure connected to the house, a weird hidden room. Grabbing a sledgehammer, Gigi breaks through the wall and discovers a room filled with talismans. They're both shocked, realizing there's more to the house than they thought. At the hot spring, Momo starts feeling lightheaded and decides to leave, but as she's about to go, a group of men walks in, claiming it's a mixed bath, thanks to a rusted sign. One of them starts rambling about gators in hot springs that target women, and they slowly close in on Momo. She tries to use her powers but feels too weak to fight back. They grab her and push her underwater, leaving her helpless. Meanwhile, Gigi and Okarun are still processing the creepy talisman room, completely unaware of what's happening to Momo. And here ends the first season of Dandadan. To anyone who watched the recap up to this point, thank you so much. This was my first recap ever, so I apologize if there were any mistakes. Catch you in the next recap.